This is the Goree Island, a small island in the Atlantic Ocean off Dakar, the capital of the West African country Senegal. Though Gory itself is a small island, its symbolic importance in human history is great. The island owes its tragic reputation to the slave houses built by colonists in 1780.
Saint-Germain Oteli, Castel Villası, De Le Point Sokağı. Bu isimler Fransa'dan değil, Senegal'in başkenti Dakar açıklarındaki tarihi köle adası Gore'den. 20 milyon Afrikalı'nın köle olarak alınıp satıldığı bu sokaklar bugün hala eski sömürgecilerin isimlerini taşıyor.
Goree Island, which can be reached after a half-hour ferry ride from Dakar port, is strategically located at the intersection of land and river routes in Africa's interior. Settlement began on the island after the Portuguese built a small stone church in 1450, then later came under French control in 1677. France's dominance on the island continued until Senegal won its independence in 1960. Goree Island was once the most important hub on the route over which colonists transferred millions of Africans to Europe for the slave trade. The Africans who were taken from the west of the continent were kept in the slave houses for weeks, chained to each other according to their health, age and height before their journey to the New World. Some were sold in slave markets for a kilogram of rice or potatoes, while others were put to work constructing buildings and in domestic work. The slave trade grew to such an extent that there were 28 slave houses on Goree Island's 17 hectares. In the only slave house left today, a man-sized door to the Atlantic Ocean was the last place Africans set foot on their homeland before leaving for the New World. Gory had been freedom's last stop for almost 20 million Africans throughout history. This threshold, known as the Door of No Return, hosted many world leaders from Nelson Mandela to former US President Barack Obama. Though Senegal gained its independence from France in 1960, one can still find traces of colonialism in the country's economy, culture, and politics. Undoubtedly, one of the most obvious examples is this island. It was a favorite stop of slave ships departing from Nantes, Bordeaux, Liverpool, Bristol, Amsterdam, and Lisbon. Even today, many streets, squares, cafes and avenues on the island still bear the names of slave traders. Stanislas de Boufflers, Senegal governor for a year, French politician François Camel, colonial-era sailor Louis Malawa, and many more names are kept alive in Goree streets. Heated debates on colonial-era symbols have recently begun in many parts of the world, especially after African-American man George Floyd became a victim of police brutality. The African continent, which has been exploited by Western powers for centuries, also had its share of these debates. Black Lives Matter protests were held in many countries on the continent. As part of this drive, Europe Square in Gory was renamed Independence Square. Many activists, in fact, support the view everything belonging to colonialists and slave traders need to be whipped off the stage of history. According to them, the names of these streets and squares commemorating such figures as well as busts, statues and many others need to be removed.
Changer ces noms et valoriser nos héros, valoriser nos hommes, valoriser les personnes qui ont œuvré et qui ont travaillé pour ces pays. Et je donne le cas de Accra, la capitale ghanéenne. Aujourd'hui, Accra est une ville où la majeure partie des rues portent les noms de dignitaires africains. Et j'ai été très fier de trouver des noms de certains Africains comme Cheikh Anta Diop, comme Abdoulaye Wade, l'ancien président de la République du Sénégal, qui n'a même pas encore de rue au Sénégal où il habite et où il a exercé ses fonctions en tant que chef d'État.
On the other hand, a considerable number of people and officials say these names reflect the history of their country. They say these symbols serve as tools not to forget what has occurred. The current mayor of Gory, Augustin Senghor, also agrees.
Et je pense aujourd'hui que ces rues que vous voyez à Gorée, qui portent des noms qui sonnent plus européens qu'africains, ça fait partie de l'histoire de cette île-là, qu'on doit conserver pour la communauté internationale qui vient ici. Parce que très souvent, on a ce qu'on appelle les négationnistes. Les négationnistes, c'est ceux qui, parce qu'ils ont un problème de conscience pour ce qui a été fait par leurs aïeux, leurs ancêtres, ils refusent le fait que l'esclavage ait existé. Ils refusent que des Noirs ont été considérés comme des animaux. Donc si on enlève ça, on leur donne raison. Parce que quand un visiteur qui vient de Turquie, qui vient de France, qui vient d'Amérique, qui vient des Antilles, il arrive ici, il voit que tout est effacé. Il va dire, mais on me dit qu'il y avait des esclaves. Où est la maison des esclaves qui le montre?
Besides these, there are also those who argue that it should be the inhabitants of Goree Island and the Senegalese who decide on such issues. Liora Bigon, an academic in post-colonial period studies in Senegal, is one of these.
While the message to the world is very clear, what is unclear is that no stakeholder asks the local residents, the day-to-day space users, what do they think about this toponymic globalization and also toponymic fashion, and what is their sense of place.
Debates on the traces of colonialism on Goree Island, protected by UNESCO, continue. Many wonder how developments on the island will affect the rest of Africa.